I get to sit here?
Yes.
Good. Okay. So, what I love about, I just want to say that neither of the men know my questions. So I just want to, I mean, that says these are all important little messages, right, that I think we need to, you know, there's the doing this, and then there's revealing to you lessons that I think are really powerful. To develop the trust, right, that I'm assuming that they're having in me, to be respectful, to be on point, to be inquisitive, right, with the things that I know will serve you. But I am going to ask them some scoopy things. Okay, I am going to do that. Let's start. Matthew, may I start with you?
I don't know the question.
You don't know the question.
Okay, here we
go. Exactly. So tell all of us what you were doing prior to Destiny's Child. What's your background?
Well, my background is corporate America, entrepreneur. I worked at Xerox for 10 years. Worked in a small division, the medical division. We sold Zero radiography for breast cancer detection. Was fortunate to be the #1 sales rep worldwide, 3 out of 4 years. Then my first business was a partnership in a hair salon in Houston, Headliner's Hair Salon. Was very, very fortunate in the early 80s of the success of that salon. That's when I was fortunate to make my first $1 million. And then I moved on and stayed in diagnostic imaging.
Can you share, though, there's a little bit that I think really speaks to, again, this gets back to character. What did you do with that hair salon once you were complete?
Well, we had this one employee who, starting out, wasn't the most knowledgeable about the hair industry, but had this incredible work ethic. Got there early, left late in the evenings, got better and better with his craft and skills. And after 17 years, we had a meeting. Nobody had any idea what the meeting was about, the staff. And we gave this young man the hair salon. And it still exists today in Houston, Headliners.
Isn't that cool, right? That's really amazing, really amazing. Ken, let me ask you, you've been in the whole, artist management world for a long time. How many years?
Oh my God. About 50, I hate to say that,
okay.
But yeah.
Yeah. So was that always part of your plan?
No, not at all. I started out producing concerts in high school and college. I kind of predated Bill Graham in San Francisco doing that when I was in school. But then my dad said, I got accepted to Harvard Business School. My dad said, if you don't go now, you'll never go. So go. And I went to Harvard Business School. And I thought my whole career had passed me by because the last concert I did was for a group called the Kingston Trio. And by the time I got to Harvard, they were #1 in the country. Oh. And they had wanted me to go to work for them, and I had instead gone to school. But I came out of school with offers from BBD&O, Time Magazine, Procter & Gamble, and I thought I was going to go in advertising. And a singing group offered me to be their executive secretary. And I can't believe it that I would do this at that age, but I said, look, I didn't go to Harvard Business School to be an executive secretary. If you want a manager, get in touch with me. And by the time I got back to school at the mid-season break, there was a letter saying, okay, you can be our manager. And we went on, not a group that most people would know, but went on to be the #2 seller at RCA. And I think by the second year, I was out earning all the guys that had graduated with me at Harvard, and that was where the business started.
So you obviously had a little something in your belly, a little fire in your belly to be in the entertainment as opposed to a P&G.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I do know that what serviced me my whole life is I understood who had talent, who was a star. That extra quality that I know that Matthews recognizes in people, that quality to be the star in the room, that quality to step the game up. That's the other part of a big star. that when the game is on the line, like Michael Jordan, they want the ball and they're going to deliver it. And I always understood who had that. I don't know where I got that. I don't know how, but boy, that's what serviced me. I could pick the stars out and then represent them.
There are those people that talk about wanting to be a star, whether it's an entrepreneur, and those that really, are willing to step into it and do what they need to do.
Yeah, there is a certain quality there. But although, I teach the fact that anybody can be a star in whatever they do, and it's a big part of what I teach.
Yeah.
And that is true.
Yes.
But that extra dimension that makes a superstar is usually something inherent. I've never been able to teach a person how to do it, but boy, the ones that have it get that extra dimension.
Right. Mathew, we were talking last night. You were sharing some unbelievable statistics about how hard it really is to succeed, in the entertainment business. Can you share with us what we were talking about?
Yeah, backstage, Ken and I was just talking about this. For those of you that don't know, there's about 35,000 albums that come out every year with major record labels. 35,000. Only 1%, so that's 350, 1% make a profit. Now, who out there would get into a business where the success rate is 1%? That's how tough this entertainment industry is. And sports is the same way. 1% of athletes make it to the NBA or the NFL. They all have that dream, but I think they lack that passion also. And we talked about how important passion is to success.
Right. Do you think, what do you think, Mathew, what comes to mind for you when you think about, the success to be a mega superstar, like Beyonce, the business? What is the number one business skill that you believe, outside of her obvious talent, right, are the things that really create that superstardom that is also applicable to the small business owner?
I think it was branding, understanding how to build a brand, and you know this, Ken. And that becomes the important thing. We went into the business of entertainment, not the business of making records. And so we wanted to build that brand. And I think that's one of the key things in any business is how do you build a brand? Yeah. And that's why Ken and I decided not to put the name of the water company on our water.
Interesting.
We did not want to build that brand today without a check, right?
Ooh, very powerful, very powerful. Yeah, right?
Yeah, branding is key. It is really, truly key. But the other part of that, there's sort of a second side to it. And the second side really is, at least with me, with all my clients, was finding out what they really are, what the essence of that person is. Not what they want to be on stage that's different than what they are, but finding what they are and building from that.
Yes.
So that when they end up being really successful, they're happy with what they are.
They're in alignment.
They're in alignment. Otherwise,
right.
I've seen it, and you've seen it with, I can name a whole bunch of artists who aren't around anymore, who have taken their own lives or passed away from drugs or whatever, because they got to be something that they weren't, that they had to maintain, and they thought they'd be found out. They, in the back of their mind, when you've created a false front, so to speak, in any business,
at
not
that
just
magnitude too, right?
Yeah, but it's true for anybody here. It's true. What you want to find, you will want to discover the things that you have that make you unique and that are special to you, and you want to build your brand on that foundation, not on a false foundation. Because if you do it on a false foundation and you succeed, the worst part is if you succeed, you now have to live up to something.
Yes.
And basically in the artist's head, or anybody's head, is, oh my God, they're going to find out this isn't real. Yeah. And that drives a lot of the bad things you see in our industry, the drug use, the other issues that are bad.
We had some rich conversation last night with both of you about almost, I want to say, the importance of failure. That you learn more from your failures your mistakes, your setbacks, than even some of your successes. Would you be willing to share, both of you, one of those instances and what you learned from it, how you used that to propel you forward?
Well, I've had so many failures in business. You hear about the successes. You don't hear about all the many failures. And more importantly, how do we learn from those? Yeah. That becomes the important thing, is how do and what do we learn from those failures? And even today, I'm still learning. I still make mistakes. And I learn from that. Yeah. I can think of, when you said, think of one, of course my mind went crazy. I made one major mistake that was part when I had to make that change in the group Destiny's Child. I came up with this idea, Ken. I'm gonna put these 15 and 16-year-old girls on a tour with another group I managed, which were 22-year-old boys. And I thought, gee, I'm gonna save a lot of money. One tour bus. This is gonna be great. And I got a call from Beyonce and Kelly saying, Dad, we have a problem. That was a big mistake, putting those 22-year-old boys on the bus with some 15 and 16-year-old girls. Boy, did I learn from that. and that's just one of them.
Yeah, but you know, it's a translatable mistake, isn't it, in business? Because oftentimes we look for, I mean, we're always paying attention, right, to cash flow, and we look for ways to combine things in the interest of saving money, trying to be fiscally responsible, right, but not stepping back and looking at the bigger implications, the bigger picture, right? Completely relatable here, very powerful. Yeah, Ken?
I'll give you an interesting failure that I had that I think we can all learn from. I certainly did. When Kenny Rogers was as hot as he could be and was doing 10 to 20,000 people a night, and Amy Grant in the Christian field, Kenny being a country singer obviously, and Amy in the Christian field was doing 10, 15,000 people a night, I got the bright idea, let's put them together and we'll do double. You know, fabulous. We booked the whole tour. They went out and did 8,000 people together. Why? Because we were putting opposites together. The Amy Grant fans didn't want to go hear about this guy singing about drinking and carousing and losing your wife and everything. And the Kenny Rogers fans thought they were going to get preached to by a Christian artist. And they all stayed away because it wasn't, nowadays, of course, Amy Grant would go well with Kenny because she transitioned into pop. Right. But at the time, she was the biggest Christian artist in the world. And we completely failed. I canceled the tour after a week because we were doing 8,000 people. We were losing a fortune with these two artists, and it wasn't working. And it taught me that you want to reinforce. Again, it sort of goes back to what I was just talking about. You want to reinforce what you are. You want to reinforce what you have, and you want to build on that, as opposed to thinking, oh, I'm going to bring opposites together and I'm going to get both audience. And that can work in your business as well.
Yes.
You know, suddenly think, okay, well, I'll be diverse and I'll be over here and I'll be over here and I'll do this that's totally different. And you drive all the audience away instead of bringing the audience together.
Yeah, I also think that's important for you as you select kind of the people you're going to hang with, right? and the A team, your advisory council, you know, are they really in alignment with the person that you are, right? The things that are important to you, your values.
By the way, that becomes even more important today because I just heard at that men's group that I belong to where banks are now looking at who your Facebook friends are in determining whether to give you a loan. Yes.
Wow.
Okay, not every bank, but some are.
Right.
And they're not legally supposed to do it, I don't think. And yet, they're looking at who do you associate with.
Yeah.
You know?
I think what I heard from that also, Ken, is and we often have to ask ourselves, who is our customer? And it's really important, I think, in business to know who your customer is and how to meet their expectations. all the time.
Clearly,
That's
I
one of the
didn't do
things
that
I
with,
learned from
I didn't
Xerox.
do that with, putting those two acts together, that's for sure.
Yeah. I think it's easy for all of us. I mean, on my very small scale, I remember thinking that eWomenNetwork, it's for all women entrepreneurs. And I spent a lot of money throwing that big net out. That net isn't cheap. The bigger you go, there's costs associated with it. And I wasn't getting the returns for the investment in going big. And what I learned was the difference between a target audience and your ideal customer, right?
Yeah.
And once I actually pulled in and got really clear who that ideal entrepreneur was, I saw my business completely shift.
And you
know?
could focus your investment
Yeah.
on that.
Right.
Yeah, very powerful, very powerful. Can I ask you a personal question, Matthew?
Uh-oh.
So I can't help but be curious, and I know I can't be alone in this. How did you juggle being the manager to Beyonce and being her daddy?
It's probably one of the most difficult things that I had to do, especially when I helped create Destiny's Child. And when you have a group, the group is stronger than any one individual. And I had to make decisions that were not always best for Beyonce. But you know, what was really difficult was not Beyonce, because Beyonce had the opportunity to have me on the road with her, and sometimes have her mother and father on the road. It's my youngest daughter, Solange. That's where it was really tough.
How
She
so?
paid the biggest price because she wasn't with her mom and dad sometimes. She paid the bigger price because it was always about Destiny's Child. And then Kelly Rowland at 12 years old moved in with us. And so then she had to share another sister. And so, yes, it's just difficult. And I admire any woman who has to juggle her business, her family. That's difficult. And it's a lot of things I would do differently. It's a lot of things I would do differently. But, you know, I think we made it through it.
Yes.
And today, the greatest thing that recently happened to me, I saw the Grammy Awards, and I saw Beyonce perform. It was the first time I looked at it from the eyes of a father and not the eyes of a manager. And that was just really, I broke down in tears to see finally my child as my daughter.
Yeah.
And so that was really tough.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't really know what that means when you're I guess it's a good thing.
It means you're touching their heart.
Okay.
It means you're resonating with them, they're feeling you, they're in alignment, is what that means.
Well, it's called being vulnerable,
Yes.
because in our vulnerability lies our safety.
Woo! Who's tweeting that? Oh my gosh. In our vulnerability lies our safety. Very powerful. Yeah. Okay, so let me ask you. For just us girls here, Ken, and a few fabulous
Hey,
men.
this is my
Right,
fourth
right,
time
right.
here. I'm used to this.
Do you have an interesting story you can share with us?
In what area? I have
Any-
so many.
Be careful, kid.
So many.
Well,
I
I know Ken a little bit better, so
that-
I can say in the scoopiest way you can.
What,
In the scoopiest way you can. Something that really stood out for you, Ken, that maybe was put you in a place where you felt this is not right for me. I must manage this in order to be in alignment with who I am, what I'm about, what my values are.
It's interesting. The story that immediately came to my mind is, I don't think I've told it here, but I might have, and I know there are a lot of different, because it's a little different than what you're saying. I think the sort of epiphany in my life was something my father did that changed my whole outlook about my life and about what I've done ever since. And I was only a 15-year-old boy at the time. And some of you have heard me say this, I have used it, but my father was a very, very prominent lawyer in Los Angeles. He represented in the 40s and 50s Deborah Carr, William Holden, Mickey Rooney, Alan Ladd, and 11 studios out of there were only about 12 or 13 studios. And he ran the biggest law firm in Los Angeles.
Wow.
And the University of California at Berkeley came to him and offered him the paltry sum of $12,500 a year, in the 50s this was, to go and teach at the University of California, and he took it. And the lesson, which I'm almost crying saying it because it's so emotional to me, the lesson, the example that was set is you do what makes your life, you fulfills your life. You do the thing I mean, I teach it in my course, your career is not your life. It's a tool for the best life possible. He chose the university. He went there. He taught for 42 years. He was immensely happy. He taught till he was 87. He chaired committees till he was 95. He died in his sleep at 98. He was alumnus of the year, The lesson for me and all the choices I've made through my life go back to that moment when my father chose happiness over career, chose fulfillment over career, and made his career what fulfilled him.
Very powerful. We were talking about, those of you that had come to my PJs and Pillows and Power Talk, I was talking, what Ken is referring to is what I was talking about, plate. I just won't do a coaching program purely based on business. I mean, I just feel you have to look at the plate, and you have to make sure you've got your protein and your good greens, and you've got something that tastes good and a little sweet dessert to enjoy. But you gotta, what I'm hearing you say is, if you focus just on the steak, right?
Yeah.
You miss.
Sorry.
No, I love that about you. I love that about you, Ken. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Okay, Matthew, share with us a do-over. A do-over that, if you had it all over again, that's translatable to us in terms of business. We have women and men in this room that, are really on a journey of really stepping into their spotlight and their power. Am I right? What's a do-over that you would say, listen, if I can tell you one thing based on something that I've done, this would be an important thing for you when you walk out of this door to never forget.
Wow, that's a good one. A do-over thing. What would I do over? I had to learn this just recently. I used to think you could separate your personal life from your business life. I thought you could have business integrity, and that was different than your personal integrity. And I just recently come to understand that they're congruent and that they come together. You can't have one without the other. And that would be the thing that the do-over for me.
Yeah.
Is how do I live together both professionally and have professional success, but have personal failure.
I appreciate that. Right? Yeah. You get challenged. You get challenged, in business. And those challenges really test. And it's easy. And we are human. And we are human too. The beauty of being human is that we can have our imperfections, learn from them. What I love about what you shared to me, what I'm hearing more than ever is that it's never too late to learn.
Never too late. We always have a second chance.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? Beautiful.
You know, I agree with that, but I'm going to tell you, as you were thinking, I was wondering if you were going to ask me the same thing. And I started to think about it, and I thought, you know what? I don't want to do anything in my life over. And the reason is, and we talked a little bit of it last night, that I somehow, I don't know where I got it, maybe my parents or whatever, but I believe everything that happens in my life happens for a good reason. Even the failures, even the bad things. And so I don't want to do them over because I'm where I am with the success I've had because of the failures, because of the things that didn't go quite right, because I always treated them as opportunities. So looking back, I really can't, you know, other than the fact that I wish I'd held on to publishing or certain pieces of things that are valuable now and paid a little more attention to passive income of stuff that I could have owned along the way, or maybe merchandise my intellectual property better. But those are minor things. Those are really more about money and security and stuff. The reality is, boy, my life went just the way I wanted it to go.
Let's talk about being a standout. You have been, would you tell everyone, because I think this is really amazing, last night you were sharing some of the statistics difference between the accomplishments of Destiny's Child, right? And what Destiny's Child did, even separate from Beyonce. And this is, I think, really powerful to understand the context of the power of Destiny's Child.
Well, you know, still, I just did this research 2 nights ago. And Destiny's Child still have sold 4 million more records in America than Beyonce. Now, she sold more downloads because we live in a digital world today. But you know what no one's ever asked me?
What?
No one's ever asked me, and it blows my mind, Ken. Nobody's ever asked me why I named the group Destiny's Child.
That was my next question.
There's a reason why I did that.
So, Matthew. I've just always been curious. What was behind the name of Destiny's Child?
Well, the name itself says it. Who's the child of destiny?
Beautiful.
Who's the child of destiny?
Woo!
I don't think I have to say it.
Yeah. Very powerful, right?
No. No, it's Beyonce.
Yeah.
She's been given such an incredible gift. And I'm really blessed and grateful. My kids are such really good kids first. And that's what I'm most proud of, is that they're good kids.
Can I just say, I do want to say one thing.
Except for Solange on the elevator.
Yeah.
That went over everybody's head.
I think that spoke to the power of her love for her sister, and I don't want to even go there. I will just say, I as a woman saw it and received it, is the power of love from one sister
Absolutely.
to another. I would love to have a sibling that loved me enough to be there for me. And that speaks to how she was raised.
Ken, I think she wants us on the sofa so we can cry
I
in front of all the ladies. I think that's really not wrong. I got it now.
Yeah.
Shark Tank.
Listen, we're very used to crying. Every mastermind we've done together, everybody, those of you who have been to our masterminds know, we're all crying away. Even Kelly Lasani, who says she never cries, cried at our
Well, they should have
mastermind.
seen the dinner last night. We all were crying.
We were crying at dinner last night.
I
right?
turned to Tracy and said, this feels like a mastermind. Everybody's crying.
I know, exactly.
God.
That was powerful.
Yeah, it was powerful. It was powerful.
Yeah.
I do want to say one thing that I have, it's more of a statement than a question, so if you'll indulge me for a moment. One of the things that I've always respected in Beyonce, and as a parent I know where that comes from, and it is something that, that I have always wished for my own daughter and son in their own lives, and that is the elegance by which she has maintained her privacy. And make no mistake about it, that is something you are taught. And I just applaud you.
Well, thank you.
And her mother.
Thank you.
Yeah. And it just goes to show really how smart she is, because as you know, a lot of kids will blow off your advice. So to be smart enough to take it, living such a public life, is remarkable, truly remarkable. Okay, Ken, what do you think is the key ingredient? Maybe two, but primarily one, the key ingredient to being a standout in business or entertainment?
The very key ingredient. Honesty. Honesty with yourself about what you really are. Honesty with others. Honesty that builds a reputation for you, that business beats a path to your door. It's the first thing that really comes to my mind. When people come to me all the time for management, I don't do that anymore. And then the next question is, well, who would you recommend? And I can't recommend to somebody unless I've done a lot of work to know about them and everything. But I say, look, I can tell you what to look for in a manager. Number one, look for a manager who's honest, okay? Look for employees who are honest. Look for partners who are honest. You know, honesty to me becomes the most important quality. And it's an honesty that you have to practice, that you have to learn, that you find ways. I teach, as you know, part of my course is how to get caught telling the truth. I teach how to, okay? And there's a good example
Can
there.
I just say, that's a tweetable. And I think that's something for each one of us. You know, this is a perfect journal item, right? To ask yourself, how do I get caught telling the truth?
Well, and there's a very good reason for it. Because what I find, the example I've often used is Kenny Rogers, a true story, calling me and saying, call the president of CBS and see when our show's going to be on and what they're doing to promote it. And I forget to do it. And he calls back the next day and says, what did he say? And I said, it's so easy at that moment in time to say I forgot. I mean, not to say I forgot, to say I called him and he never called me back. But I don't say that. I say I forgot. Because I want him to catch me telling him the truth about something that I could have easily avoided.
Right.
But I made a mistake, and I'm letting him know. And what I do when I do that is I build credibility so that when I really need him to believe me, he knows I tell the truth, even when it isn't in my own best interest. And that quality has been the single quality that built me my business, brought people to me, every aspect.
Love that.
You know?
Love that. Matthew, what do you think is one of the key ingredients to being a real standout and superstar?
Yeah, I think, Ken, you hit it on the head. But to add to that, there's this thing that I call talk to do ratio.
Ooh, talk to do ratio.
You know, I think that becomes really critical. If we say we're going to do it, that we do it, because often in business, you get, for many reasons, you get put on another track, and especially when you have multiple clients. And dealing in business is if I say I'm going to be there at 2 o'clock, I'm going to be there. You know, it was important to me last night, and Ken, you hit it on the head, man. You said when you met my wife, she was kind of like, you were wondering, like, is she upset? Is she standoffish? Well, we had this strong conversation because we were supposed to be in a car at 6:45. And at 6:47, I kept saying, honey, you know, and she says, I said, we're late. She says, we're just a little late. And I said, there's no such thing as a little late. You're either late or on time. And so to me, it's that talk to do ratio thing
Yes.
that becomes really.
But we should add to that she turned out to be one of the most charming, most gorgeous, most wonderful people you
Yes.
could ever want to know.
She helped crack the
she
shell
was
open of
fantastic.
the room.
She was fantastic.
You know.
And
Well, she was something I learned, and the beauty about, I'm a newlywed 1 year, and last night I listened, Lori, Lori shared with us her being a psychologist and therapist, and I do a lot of therapy. And I heard her say, I want to understand more what you do. And so that's my takeaway from dinner.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that was a big moment. He and I talked about that later. We have to thank Laura for that because she nailed it, and Gina
That was
had
powerful. Oof.
opened up about that you weren't letting her in on what was going on enough.
Right.
And wow, I mean,
It was
an epiphany moment for.
But it was a shift. What was so powerful about it is that it shifted the whole rest of the evening for all of us. It was so incredible. So let me ask you a couple of sentence stems here because I only have a few more minutes.
Yeah.
And I love to kind of give a starter and then you complete the sentence, right?
Okay.
So Ken, we'll start with you.
All right.
To me, success is?
Doing what truly makes you happy.
Beautiful. Okay, Matthew, the thing I look forward to the most is?
Now the thing that I look forward to is so different. I just look forward to peace.
Yes, the power of peace.
I just
Right.
look forward to waking up every morning. At this age, that becomes a basic important thing.
My personal greatest business moment was?
Sitting on the floor at the end of the evening after recording We Are the World with Quincy Jones, Diana Ross, a couple of other artists, crying.
My personal greatest business moment was?
Seeing my artists accomplishing their dreams. That's just so, that's why I do it.
Yeah. Wow. Most people would be surprised to know
That I'm an astronomer, calligrapher, and pretty decent photographer.
most people would be surprised to know.
That I'm from Gaston, Alabama. My dad made $30 a week driving a truck. Then he asked to drive that truck, to have the access to the truck. And then he would tear down old houses and get copper and metals out of it. That my mother was a colored maid who made $3 a day. And on the weekends, she made quilts with her best friends. Most people wouldn't know that I lived on a dirt road in Gaston until I was about 16 and had an outside bathroom. So I always start out when I do seminars, if I can sit here and be successful in the 50s when racism was a big thing in Gaston, Alabama, and if I could break through that, then I think everybody has that opportunity.
Yeah, very powerful.
Yeah.
Something that you had shared with me that that was that I really felt was when you talked about how you struggled to understand how when you met the people that your mother worked for, you referred to them as Mr. or Mrs.
Right.
But the children of the people that your mother worked for referred to your mother and father by their first name.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. But I have to say, my mother was a fascinating woman. I remember the insurance man. Those of you that are a little older remember the weekly insurance premium you paid. And so this white insurance man knocked on the door and he said, is Helen here? And my mother went to the door and she said, sir, if you want me to continue to be your customer, you need to go get back in your car, come back and ring the doorbell and ask, is Mrs. Knowles is here?
Wow. That's a spicy woman for you, right?
Oh, she was real feisty.
Okay. Ken, the thing I value most in people is...
Oh, well, it's back to honesty.
Yeah, exactly.
Very simple,
Yeah,
always.
yeah. And you?
It's the same.
Okay,
And being authentic.
okay. What I've learned to be true above all else in my life is...
First thing came back was honesty.
You know,
But we've used that.
But we've used that. if that's...
I think it's also, the thing I learned is just the passion. Doing what you do because you're passionate about it. That drives us.
you know, that word came, in my class at UCLA, I have phenomenal guests, whether it's Herb Alpert or Quincy Jones or Lionel Richie, or that word comes up in every class from every guest. That you're passionate about what you do. I'm sure you've heard it a dozen times here. It really is the key. It really is.
Because if you're not passionate about it, when the times get rough, you don't have the energy to stick with it.
Not only that, I find that I take on those projects, and I have 11 projects going right now, but I take on, I mean, truly, I do have 11 major projects, 4 television projects. But I take on things which I can be passionate and enthusiastic about it, because when I go to sell it to somebody else, if I don't have that feeling, I'm not going to be effective. I'm not going to overcome objections. I'm not going to put it forward in a way that really works. So that's kind of the criteria by which I judge everything that I get involved in. And I might just share, because I love it. I just got the job of my life. I told you I have an astronomy background, right? I just got a job working for JPL on a probe to Jupiter. And it's just like, you know, you kind of feel like, my God, the great things come along.
Continue to come along to good people.
But I think also when you look at the traits of all successful people, number one is always passion.
Yeah.
That's what drives success. And I teach at Texas Southern University. This is my 7th year teaching there. And I tell my students always, if you're passionate, you never work a day in your life. I sometimes pinch myself and I say, gee, I have this wonderful, wonderful career of doing what I wake up in the morning and go to sleep thinking about.
Yeah.
And that's when you're passionate. You wake up thinking about it. You go to sleep thinking about it. Have to learn that balance, and that becomes difficult sometimes. But that's what passion is. It's fire that's inside of us.
Beautiful, synergistic ending to our time together, would you say? Okay, let me just say you all have cards, and Mathew is doing a program on Saturday, September 13th, and the whole focus is about get the knowledge to avoid losing your money and your mind relative to getting in the music business. Do I have that correct?
You have, if you want to get in the music industry, I'm going to share some ways and opportunities and information because it's such a risky business and folks just don't know, and they spend tons of time, tons of money trying to get into a really tough industry.
Is this an online or in person?
This is in person
In
on
Houston?
September 13th in Houston. It's a
Okay.
central branch of Houston Community College. So I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, so you have all of your contact information to participate in that if you would like. Gentlemen, it's been an honor. It's been an honor to meet you both individually and to have made the connection that you would give your precious time up on a Sunday to come and join me and the most amazing community on the planet and to share from your heart. I'm in awe and I am in such great appreciation. Thank you so much.
So Sandra, you know how last night I said I have to always end. And so I want to just take 2 minutes to end it that way.
Okay.
I want to just share a story with you. I fly a lot, so I'm in LAX, I'm going down the escalator, and there's this nun from Mexico, and she has this jar, and she's got it written poor English, but she basically wanted donations. And so I've learned to give and not, really challenge what that person's agenda is, but I give from my heart. And so she gave me this business card that I shared last night. I have this habit of putting my business cards from one pair of jeans to the next. Sometimes I wear those jeans for several days. And I didn't read what was on that card, so that's what I want to share with you, because it means a lot for me. And it was, pray not for life, free from trouble. Because we often pray, Lord, I hope nothing bad happens. This is saying, no, pray not for a life free from trouble, but pray for triumph over trouble.
Right.
For what you and I call adversity, God calls opportunity. And so when things go wrong, it gives us an opportunity to really evaluate what went wrong, what could I have done better, what can I do that won't happen again in my business. So I share that. Don't pray for a life free from trouble. Always pray for triumph. So that's what I like to always share.
Beautiful, beautiful, right? Here's to opportunity and triumph. Beautiful. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
gentlemen.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.